The largest mass incarceration facility in the United States is a black site prison hidden in the forests of northern Maine. It is called ANASCU, which stands for Agency of Helping Hands North American Specialized Containment Unit. Staff call it the North American Pantheon because it's a prison for gods, monsters, and other supernatural entities. The existence of the Pantheon has been a closely guarded secret for nearly 200 years. But we are finally breaking our silence. Because the most dangerous inmate in the agency's history has escaped. And agency staff want to help you protect yourselves. To learn more about this inmate and how to keep yourself and your loved ones safe, please check out the North American Pantheon podcast, a new audio drama written by, produced, and starring R.C. Bowman, aka Dopamine. Catch the North American Pantheon on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Tell them Dusk Light sent you. And with that, on with the story. I work at a facility that contains gods. Or maybe contains isn't the right word. You can't really contain something that existed before the concept of walls. Something that remembers the first fire, the first prayer, the first human who begged for mercy. We don't have an official name, at least not one we're allowed to use. Everyone just calls it CSP. Chain, Seal, Protect. That's our motto, our purpose. And before you ask, no, I'm pretty sure you've never heard of us. Nobody has. We don't even appear on government records, maps, or budgets. If we do our jobs correctly, the world never learns we exist. I'm posting this because I don't think anyone will believe me anyway. Well, that, and I've already decided to start journaling. Apparently, it's supposed to be healthy. Helps you process your thoughts, organize your feelings, and all that nonsense. But journaling into a notebook sounds boring as hell. No offense to the suburban moms who write 3 pages every morning about their yoga classes and pumpkin spice lattes, but if I'm going to write about my day, I want an audience. And trust me, my days are worth reading about. I love this job. That's probably the weirdest thing you'll hear in this entire story. Most stories like this start with someone who hates their job. They're trapped, desperate, forced into it somehow, but that's not me. Okay, that's only partially true. I wasn't exactly forced to join CSP, but they didn't give me many alternatives either. The way they recruit people is actually kind of genius. They don't look for the best candidates. They don't look for the smartest people, the strongest people, or even the most qualified. They look for people who are already half dead. People with no future. People with no family. People nobody would miss. That's what I mean when I say half dead. You're not actually dead, your heart still beats. You still wake up in the morning. But your existence has already faded from the world. Nobody calls. Nobody checks in. Nobody notices when you're gone for a week, or a month, or forever. You've already been forgotten, so you might as well be halfway in the grave. That's the kind of people CSP recruits. Because when you work at a facility dedicated to chaining, sealing, and protecting things that shouldn't exist, employee retention isn't exactly great. And if one of us dies, well, it's easier when nobody comes looking. Well, I wasn't always half dead. I had a family once. Not a good one, but a family. Getting into the details would take an entire post and probably trigger another mental breakdown, so let's skip the trauma dump. All I'll say is that I left, and I never looked back. And as far as I'm concerned, even if they all perished, it isn't my problem. After I left, things got worse. I hit rock bottom, tried to end it all, and then ended up under state supervision. Officially, they called it counseling. Mandatory sessions, evaluations, therapists asking the same questions in different ways, hoping I'd eventually give them the answer they wanted. It didn't work. Mostly because I lied through every session. At least, I thought it was counseling. Turns out it was recruitment. A few weeks after my treatment ended, I was taken. Kidnapped is probably the correct word, though CSP would likely prefer something cleaner, like acquisition or transfer. I woke up in a concrete holding cell with no windows, no clock, and a single metal table. There was a glass vial sitting on it. Across from me sat a man in a grey suit. He gave me two options. The first was simple: drink the vial, a painless death, quick, clean, guaranteed. The second was employment. Join the facility. At the time, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. Then he explained what CSP actually was. And that's when I learned the real reason nobody knows about the organization. Because once you know it exists, you don't get to leave. You either become part of the facility, or you never leave at all. And despite what you might be thinking, I didn't choose the vial. Funny how that works. You could spend years wanting to die, convinced there's nothing left for you. And in the moment someone gives you a reason to keep going, suddenly, death doesn't seem so appealing anymore. Or maybe it wasn't the purpose. Maybe it was pure spite. Part of me wanted to outlive my parents, to keep breathing long enough to know I'll never attend their funerals. Whatever the reason, I signed the contract. That was 2 years ago. Since then, I've been promoted 3 times. Not because I'm exceptional, not because I'm some genius monster hunter or elite operative. I'm just the only idiot left alive to promote. Most of my co-workers are fresh recruits. Every few months, a new batch arrives looking confused, terrified, or numb. Some think they've joined a secret government agency. Some think they're being punished. And a few are actually excited. Those are usually the first ones to die. Out of every 500 recruits, maybe 15 make it past their first year. Of those 15, maybe 5 survive their second. After that, the numbers get so small, nobody bothers tracking them. So either I'm incredibly lucky, or I'm like a cockroach. Ugly, stubborn, and impossible to kill. Personally, I'm betting on the cockroach theory. Before I tell you what happened last week, you need to understand how gods actually work. First, CSP doesn't imprison gods. That's a common misconception. Humans are incapable of imprisoning a god. Trust me, we've tried. When we say a god is contained, what we really mean is that it's being managed, kept satisfied, kept predictable, kept from wandering off and collecting worshippers on its own. How the containment division accomplishes that is beyond me. I work in retrieval, not containment, and I have no interest in transferring. The mortality rate over there makes our department look like a retirement home. I'm one of 3 heads of the retrieval division. One of the other managers has survived 4 years, the third has survived 3, which basically means they're better cockroaches than I am. Our job is simple in theory. Find newly emerged gods, negotiate with them, offer them a deal, a place to stay, worshippers, protection from rival entities and human interference. And in exchange, they stop kidnapping people. Most gods don't want to destroy humanity, they just want attention. The problem is that gods attract worship the same way a fire attracts moths. Lost people, lonely people, desperate people. A god will whisper into their dreams, promise them purpose, and before long, they're gone. That's why, whenever you see a cluster of mysterious disappearances, odds are good that a god is involved. Gods are classified by the number of active worshippers they possess. D class, 500 to 1,000 worshippers. C class, 1,000 to 5,000. B class, 5,000 to 10,000. A class, 10,000 to 20,000. Anything above 20,000 is considered S class, and anything above 500,000 becomes SS class. And anything beyond that, well, humanity stops pretending that it can control it. At CSP, we currently house 2 S-class entities and a single SS class. The lower classes are so numerous that nobody bothers counting them anymore. Anyway, the reason I'm journaling all this is because my therapist won't stop bothering me. Surprisingly, the CSP has its own mental health department now, which is honestly more terrifying than most of the gods. Every month, they drag me into an office, ask me how I'm feeling, and pretend they're surprised when I tell them I'm feeling terrible. Apparently, surviving 2 years in retrieval isn't normal, and the fact that I can casually eat my lunch while discussing casualty reports is a sign that I've developed unhealthy coping mechanisms. Their words, not mine. So, this is my compromise. I'm not writing in a notebook like some depressed Victorian poet. I'm putting everything here instead. If nothing else, maybe it'll save the next poor idiot who gets recruited. Or maybe it'll just give future psychologists more material to argue about after I inevitably die. Either way, everyone wins. Now, let's get to the reason I'm writing this in the first place, with what happened a few hours ago. A new assignment came across our desk. People were disappearing in the Sahara Desert. Now, normally that wouldn't raise any alarms. Hundreds of people vanish in the Sahara every year. The desert is massive, unforgiving, and very good at hiding bodies. What caught our attention was the increase. Normally, the annual number sits somewhere between 250 and 500 disappearances. Last year, it hit 600, and this year, it had already reached 700. We weren't even halfway through the year. Something was taking them, which usually means a new god has appeared. Our team was dispatched immediately. Unfortunately, I had another problem. I needed a new assistant. Again. I really need a new assistant, Jacob. Well, Jacob is one of the other 2 cockroaches. Managers, I mean. And his name isn't actually Jacob. None of us use our real names here. CSP is very particular about keeping our identities separate from the organization. The fewer connections there are between your real life and this place, the better. If something gets out, nobody can trace you back to the facility or the facility back to you. Mine isn't either. I named myself after a hair shampoo I used as a kid. Don't ask me why. It was the first thing that came to mind when they asked what name I wanted on file. Jacob looked up from his paperwork and sighed.
No.
No?
No.
And why is that?
Because this is your 20th assistant this year.
That statistic is incredibly misleading.
How?
Because it implies I killed them. Fine. Most of them died on my missions.
Exactly.
It's not my fault the recruits keep dying. I'm not their mother or their father.
That's probably what worries me.
I glanced at the clock. 10 minutes until departure. If I missed the helicopter, Jeff would leave without me. The pilot already hated me for reasons that may or may not involve an incident with an ancient fertility god and a fuel truck. Please, Jacob groaned.
Fine. Take Sean.
A young man sitting nearby immediately looked horrified. Jacob shoved him toward me.
He's from my division. If he dies, Nayeri, you're not getting another assistant.
Deal. I left before he could change his mind. Sean hurried after me towards the helipad. The poor guy looked like he was walking towards his execution. Statistically speaking, he kind of was. My retrieval team consists of 56 people. 7 are part of the command team. Myself, Sean, and 5 senior operatives responsible for actually negotiating with gods. The remaining personnel are security. Their job is simple: get us to the god alive, keep us alive while we negotiate, and get us back alive afterward. On paper, it sounds easy. In reality, it's usually the hardest part. We arrived at the Giza Pyramid. Normally, the place is packed with tourists, but not today. Our team had the site shut down under the guise of renovations. We entered through a route the public doesn't know about. Not the path that leads up into the pyramid, but the one that descends beneath it. The ancient Egyptians were remarkable builders. Unfortunately, something had decided to use their masterpiece as a feeding ground. We encountered the first layer of worshippers near the entrance. They moved wrong. One man had both of his legs bent in directions that legs aren't supposed to bend, yet he sprinted towards us anyway. Another dragged himself forward with a broken spine. The security detail opened fire. 10 bodies hit the floor before they got close. We pushed deeper into the tunnels. The second layer was worse. 50, maybe 60 worshippers rushed at us at once. Some crawled along the walls and ceiling like insects. One dropped in directly in front of me before Elena, my security captain, put a bullet through its skull. Another came from above. I shot it in the head and it landed at my feet. Move! We ran. The third layer was the last known layer, and that's where we found the god. It resembled a massive stone statue stretching from floor to ceiling like the trunk of a gigantic tree. Thousands of worshippers circled it in endless loops, chanting in a language I couldn't understand. I locked eyes with one of them. The problem was, it didn't have any. Only empty eye sockets stared back at me. The instant it spotted us, a gurgling screech erupted from its throat, a sound so wrong it barely resembled anything human. Then every worshipper in the chamber began screeching. Thousands of voices echoed through the cavern. "Greetings, my lord," I said, stepping forward. The intelligence briefing had classified it as a C-class. It wasn't. Not even close. This thing was at least A-class, which was a problem because I had brought a C-class team. "Greetings, my lord," I repeated. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then a voice whispered directly into my ear.
"Only human."
I resisted the urge to jump. The thing was at least 50 feet away.
"What brings you to my sanctuary, human?"
"We represent an organization dedicated to assisting divine entities." The lie rolled off my tongue so smoothly I almost impressed myself. Still, peaceful containment beats becoming toast.
"Assisting?
The god stared at me.
And why would a god such as myself require assistance from lowly humans?"
"Because, my lord, people are going to stop coming here." The god tilted its stone head.
"And why is that?"
"The pyramid is being renovated. Humans won't be allowed inside for a lot of time." The god's stone face twisted. Its worshippers began to twitch.
"No pilgrims?
"Not for some time."
No wanderers?
"No."
No offerings?
"No." The god's voice sharpened with every question. Then it shrieked. Thousands of worshippers turned towards us at once. Gods are prideful creatures. Deny them admiration for even a single day, and it wounds their ego. Tell them new worshippers will stop coming altogether, and the reaction is rarely pleasant. I cleared my throat. "That is why we're here, to provide assistance during this unfortunate period." The god fell silent.
Continue."
The statue leaned forward, its massive face stopping only a few feet from mine. I could smell incense, blood, and something far older than either. "We can provide housing, worshippers, protection, maintenance, and a stable source of followers."
"What makes you think I'll believe you, little human?"
I gestured toward the empty entrance. Today's visitor count? The god didn't respond. 0 worshippers arrived today. Still nothing. And tomorrow won't be much better. The statue slowly straightened. I could practically hear it thinking, which was terrifying. God's thinking is usually bad for humans.
And what would you demand in return?
It finally asked. Very little.
Nothing is ever little with humans.
Fair. The worshippers resumed their circling, their feet scraping softly against the ancient stone as they moved. I reached into my bag and removed the sealed scroll. We've prepared a formal proposal. Before the god could respond, I handed it to Sean and shoved him forward.
Huh?
Was all Sean managed to say before he stumbled into one of the worshippers. Several of them immediately grabbed him and dragged him toward the statue while he screamed. The scroll floated from his hands before it reached the ground. The god read it. I have no idea what was written on it. Nobody in Retrieval does. The scrolls arrived sealed from the containment division. They're written in some ancient language only gods can understand. We aren't allowed to open them. Rumor says reading one drives humans insane, and I've never been curious enough to test that theory.
Quite a proposition, lowly creature.
The god snarled. For a moment, I thought it was going to reject the offer. Then it laughed.
I accept.
And with that, a blinding light filled the chamber, causing all of us to close our eyes. When I opened my eyes, the statue was gone. The worshippers were gone. The cavern was empty. Another successful mission. We returned to the helicopter. I was halfway on board when I realized Sean wasn't with us. I looked around, counted heads, counted again. Still no Sean. I sighed. Sorry, Jacob. I already knew he was going to kill me. Not literally. Probably. But it wasn't my fault. The god had decided to keep him. The entity now resides on the 45th floor of the facility under a long-term containment agreement. Sean lives there too. He's one of the worshippers now. Last I heard, he spends his days walking in circles and chanting in a language nobody understands. Officially, he's listed as alive. Personally, I think that's debatable. Still, that's not what has me irritated. What has me irritated is what was waiting for me when I got back. A new assignment. Apparently, while we were dealing with the pyramid, something showed up in Antarctica. Normally, that wouldn't be my problem. Antarctica is usually containment territory. If something decides to crawl out of the ice, they can be the ones to deal with it. Unfortunately, somebody upstairs disagreed. The report was thin. Too thin. Just 3 pages. A satellite image, a casualty estimate, and a single sentence highlighted in red. Possible divine emergence confirmed. Retrieval team required immediately. I remember staring at the sentence for a long time. Not because of the assignment, not because of the location, because of the casualty estimate. The last team that went there was erased, never to be seen again. It was a containment division team, and apparently, just because I have a 100% success rate, the people upstairs think this is something I can handle. Side note, I can't. The previous team vanished into thin air, never to be seen again, which means whatever we're going to find in Antarctica already has them. And if that's the case, there's a decent chance my next assistant won't be the only one who dies. Honestly, I should probably get some sleep before we leave. The helicopter departs at 6, so 8 hours from now. At least that means Jacob won't get the chance to kill me. By the time he receives the report, I will be long gone. Antarctica is waiting. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not looking forward to a mission. Most heartfelt greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlethems. I eagerly thank you for listening to Sturgeon's most premier station, Dusk Light Radio, hosted by yours truly, the cantankerous yet cautious, anatomically anomalous, and delightfully delirious Everett J. Blackwell. This rather timely tale of secret government organizations was crafted by Jekka, username UrGoofyAhh. Phenomenal username if you ask me. We may end up adapting more of this series, but we'll need you to let us know in the comments below. For now, you can find more of Jekka's work linked below, alongside the aforementioned North American Pantheon. Let him know Dusklight sent you. Special thanks given, of course, to We Try Horror for the phenomenal editing, and to Vidith for providing extra vocal delights. Now, a quick heads up for all of our new listeners. You may be wondering why the runtime on this video was so long when the story is almost over. Well, you see, one of the things we like to do here at Dusk Light Radio is ensure we add on to the lore, the information of Dusk Light Radio and its inhabitants. And it just so happens today's video contains a brand new skit involving all of our residents. If that's not something that interests you, I completely understand, and you're free to go. If, however, you're curious or you are a fan of the old Dusklight skits, well, I hope you enjoy. Perhaps you know of us Blackwells. We've been trying to fix our reputation since Grand Vizier Blackwell started telling everyone on TikTok that they'd be raptured, totally for sure this time, by the great ones beyond the door. Oh, he'd get on live, start crying and shaking, saying he had a prophetic vision, when in actuality he just watched the new movie Disclosure Day, and claimed the uplifting day was this week, that it was time to say goodbye. Then, when nothing happened, he and his worshippers would just put their fingers in their ears and say, "La la la, I can hear you, you're a negative person, you're a drain on my resources, stop or I will attack." And then they'd proceed to loot and pillage until their blood frenzy subsided. Then they'd back away, palms out, saying, "I'm sorry you overreacted about all this," before starting the cycle all over again. At time of recording, they're convinced it'll happen during the Sturgeon Cup, where the Mantis Bay Mariners take on the Sturgeon City Detectives in a final contest. Only time will tell, I suppose, and Grand Vizier Blackwell certainly is making good use of all those tithes, I must say. That being said, it's time to check in with our Blackwell family. It's been pandemonium here since we announced the Dusk Light Radio talent show. All of our competitors within the family have been eager to show their stuff and their skills. Crazy Uncle Van Blackwell was eager to be involved in the judging process, though I think he may have gotten too involved, as you'll come to find out. First up was the enigmatic plague doctor Delera Blackwell, who brought out a Vulpatinger, a chimera from the Bavarian Alps. Its body is that of a squirrel, or perhaps a rabbit, the antlers of a deer, and the wings of a pheasant. The feet were some unknown aviary beast, and even with my rudimentary understanding of German could not possibly translate what Delera told us. But Delera held it gently in their gloved hands, saying, with pride, "This is my talent, the securing and pacification of Germany's most famous beast. I'll take my trophy in my room, danke," before passing out treat bags full of medicines and antidotes, both for and to protect against unusual conditions and ailments, some of which have not got proper names and others seem to have been eliminated hundreds of years ago, each with a large sticker and a cartoon like Delera and Van linking arms and giving the thumbs up. Crazy Great Uncle Van and Delera's cure-all solutions. It's got what ails you. And a quote from Dr. Good Doctor simply saying, "Is good." Next up is Sabrina Blackwell, adorned at all sides by younger Blackwell members, putting on a full puppet reenactment of the celestial event over the Emperor's Kingdom, complete with voices, sound effects, and a gripping set of choreography I'd not known dolls to possess. It was riveting, and it only started one fire, so I'd say it was a rousing success. Izzy Blackwell was on hand too, providing all of the background characters and smaller roles with bug puppets. I'd wanted to ask if he'd either possessed live bugs, taken their hollowed out shells and made them dance against their will, or just created lifelike replicas, but then Izzy would smile at me with those big tombstone-like pearly whites that had a single hairy bug leg sticking out, and I lost my nerve. As thanks for his help, Sabrina made him a special doll knitted with facebug silk and created a purple snuggly caterpillar named Albert. I think he rather liked it. Next up, representing the Fight On Blackwell Gymnasium, was a most unusual competition. Bigham's Blackwell advised us that he and TJ would pit themselves against Tabitha and Ven for the right to declare themselves the most swole. Bigham's and TJ would combine ungodly caffeine and unregulated protein procured from the Sturgeon Farmers Collective, of which brand he would not say, while Tabitha would head up a passionate personal training regime for her and Ven comprised of UIIT, ultra intense interval training, and crazy great Uncle Ven's innate connection to the skies, allowing for more aerodynamic exercises. Between them, friendly jabs were hurled as the whole station geared up to cheer them on. Bigham's and TJ practically vibrating between sets and coffee runs, while Tabitha and Ven yelled things like, "You might be the biggest of us, but you ain't the swollest of us," and "You have no meat on your bones, I do declare." Ven's bird even provided moral support. Kiwi the crow swooped down during a particularly difficult rep for Ven and Tabitha, singing a provocative ballad so beautiful it brought a tear to Olivia's eye as she furiously wrote more for her manuscript, gripped by inspiration. In the end, we didn't have a winner. TJ and Bigham's took so much coffee that by the time the long jump was conducted, they simply got up and leapt out of the window. They'll calm down soon enough, I'm sure. Adela Blackwell, accompanied by Papa Kayo and Jackal, put on a display unlike any other. Adela would fire dance around the stage with increasing passion, while Kayo cooked up some ribs, pulling the bones off of the meat and storing them for later, before hurling those meat ribs into the air to be cut expertly by Jackal, toasted by Adela, and landing perfectly on the prepared plates below with choice cuts provided in advance by Jackal. Don't ask where he got the cuts from. You know, sometimes when I looked into the fire, I thought I saw a face looking back at me. But it passed within a flicker, and my fellow judges assured me all was well as they hungrily devoured the feast in front of us. Speaking of our other judges, that would be Wojciech and Aphrodite or Venus Blackwell. They rocked up to the station recently and have taken up residence in our east and north wings respectively. Wojciech hasn't offered us much, staying under a large, beautifully patterned cloak and long hood. He peers out only to confirm or deny questions asked to him. He then asks for grapes when he's frustrated, and speaks to Baba when he thinks nobody is looking. A quiet one for the most part, but still volunteered to be a part of our judging process, and I'm happier for the company. Aphrodite, I would have thought, would want to be in the talent show, but they flicked their luscious hair, smelling of lavender and evoking memories of her first love in your teens, when everything was simple, serene, innocent, and passionate, before looking us all in the eyes and saying, "Beauty of my caliber does not need judging. It is beyond codification. It simply is. I know myself and I know my worth. I wish to help our family reach that same level of satiety." To which Wojciech said, "More grapes," and I handed him some. Our other two new arrivals, however, very much did want to be in the talent show, and as it happened, they were up next. First, there's Flyjay or Chashka Skull Blackwell. Why the two names? Well, you'll see. Flyjay was the first to greet us at the morning meeting. Calm, philosophical, speaks as if everything has a deeper meaning, and always looks to be one step ahead in a crisis. Pretty reliable if you ask me, though when he answers that the sun will not rise tomorrow is no less intelligible a proposition and implies no more contradiction than the affirmation that it will rise, in response to how the weather is lately, it can be hard to understand and have a conversation. Chashka, on the other hand, is a challenge. Chaotic, aggressive, likes to instigate, and lacks a filter. He's best paired with Adela during firebending sessions or the workout crew. Nothing we can't handle, mind you, but you never know which one of them you're getting. To top it all off, he's one of the Blackwells tinged by the scourge of our family curse, much like myself being a half-dead host and all that. But where only a part of my lovely face is given way to the skull beneath, Flyjay's is nothing but skull, a porcelain white sphere that sits atop his shoulders, moving when he moves, the bone fragments shifting to match emotion. It's rather beautiful in a way. Flyjay's entrance in the talent show was a song composed and performed by himself and Shashka, which I have to say was downright impressive. The way he switched between the two on command with such control. The ballad was an old Polish tale about simple life in the countryside. It made me wistful for a time long since past, a time I could never get back to. I swear I could almost see the hills and the mountains materializing as he sang. After Flyjay, our other new entrant took to the stage, Fenrig via Blackwell. Fenrig was brought to us by Lady Death at the end of the spring solstice, having died in battle and revived by her good graces. In doing so, gaining some of her boon and under strict guidance from a sage, he eventually became able to manipulate nature itself to provide a healthy balance of life-giving abilities to his death state. You know, his motorcycle was still running in the parking lot upon his arrival. I hope he won't mind the ticket. For his talent, he wished to do a comedy routine while displaying his combat prowess with his scythe, Live Ogdod, Life and Death, by encouraging the audience to either throw things or attack him. Don't worry, all in good fun, no dying in this talent show. At the end of his routine, he pulled some of the vines covering his chest back to show a beating heart, one tinged with purple and small leaves growing off of the valves, stating, "Just so you know, I'm not entirely a monster." Ashen, Ethan, and Olivia went next with a live participation improv play that Olivia had created. In it, Ashen would have 15 minutes to craft the most dangerous weapon from parts that Ethan could scrounge around the station through dumpster diving, while Olivia performed an epitaph based on audience prompts. Should she reach the end before they were done, she would win and the protection spell would be in place. Should she lose, she would forfeit her life. Well, Ashen began joining her speech and quoted The Tempest in the process. "Hell is empty and all the devils are here," as she began to speak on her life and the difficulties it had faced. What's past is prologue, as those difficulties turned to successes. Ethan rushing around, finding every boat, scrap, and weird device he could find, throwing them to Ashen as he steadily constructed a small device capable of firing. As the timer began to run out and Olivia's speech reached its climax, a single shot rang out and the whole stage went dark. Then, Ashen, Ethan, and Olivia all began to speak in unison, with the cadence of a Shakespearean actor. Our revels now are ended. These, our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And, like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve, and, like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Turns out Olivia had caught the bullet between her hands at the very last moment. Riveting. Finally, it was time for Clue to take the stage, the long-awaited return of our statuesque member who had escaped a chrysalis and has not been seen in many months. In Clue's absence, Ven, tall as he is, took center stage, opening his large cape like a magician ready to unveil a new act or retrieve a previously disappeared person. He began speaking in a language none of us could understand, making my head throb as he continued, wide-eyed and gesticulating madly, something undulating beneath the folds of his cloak. He was no longer talking to us, but to the corner we could not see, the corner we were never allowed to see. The more we tried to look, the greater our heads screamed in protest until the noise became too much, the cluster migraines set in, and for a time, our vision was minimal at best. But when the dust settled, and we felt well enough to see again, nothing was on the stage anymore, save for a single note suspended in the air. 2 words. You blinked. Clue. Who do you think won the contest, listeners? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of our other transmissions. We are adding them regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of the Dusk Light family by subscribing, hitting the bell of servitude, and leave a comment with stories you love for my many-legged runners to find. I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. If you want to sign up, it's as little as $1 a month, and you get exclusive content, early access videos and stories, updates, and more. But times are tough, and we will always be grateful for support no matter what form it comes in. Financial, spiritual, corporeal, maniacal, whatever you want. It really helps us out. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, including the Nightmare Detective Show, a Sturgeon-inspired D&D/Monster of the Week campaign ran by TJ and including all of your favorite characters. Dusk Light gives thanks to our Sturgeonite faithfuls, Isaiah Thomas, Devon Weems, A-Rod Coe, Todd Hawes, Kian Colburn, Larry W., PRDL12, Jimmy Ricardo, Jack the Lad, J.I. Lara, Val Was Taken, Amy Walrath, Heather G., Dexter, Super Abyss, Morgan Ra, Dave L, Boguslaw Smolik, Goth Mommy 666, Someone Somewhere, Anj, M, Courtney Wool, Kissy Dawn, Maddie, Kessler, Jose Ortega, Mickey Klaus, Dark River 17, Mel H, Satanist Bambi, Badded Names, Ashwolf Grey, Imani Boo, Reclusive, and Torin. Our Purple Crayon Eaters, E, Finny Von Karma, Max, Phi, Ashabel, Alex, Gail Allstott, Echo Kane, Ian Hancox, Okami-san, Orphan Nuka, Cal Cully Zero, Christian Hadding, Amba Singh, Darkness Within, Paul J. DeSena, Justy Blue, Desert Bluffs, PV69, Sudders, Oliver Yourface, Camilla Roja, Rory Shamba, Becky Sineni, Aiden, Emma, Kid Kiriyama, Creature Creations, Emily McMullen, and Smig. Our janitors, Ebly Nation Z, Nordic Hero, Alex Nunez, Arkham Cookie, Amy, Adrian R, Heather Cayley, Scott, Death 31, Sabiel Eclipse, Joy Flint Healy, Dux, Shane Lewis, DJ Muffin, Odd Nightborn, Alec Hansen, Oliver Topoluk Natale, Kenza, Darktail, Brianna Elliott, Rosari Cardwell, Ryan Moore, Raspberry Pie, Mima, Isabel Vladislaus, Marcus Hoyer, and Ali. Our Nightmare Detectives, Jake Bullock, Fox Clifford, Mike, Melanie Schaefer, Mothman, Mama Chewy, Halo Davis, and Kikuhime1202. Our Void Walkers, Professor Creepypasta, Rat Squatch, and Domine Silvus. And lastly, our Blackwell family members. New arrivals Toby, Michael, and Angie Blackwell. Great crazy Uncle Van Blackwell, the towering chittering forest shaman. Joshka and Fly J Blackwell, the terrifying twosome with a hell of a voice despite a skull for a head. Fenric Blackwell with the Garden of Eden in one hand and the life-taking scythe in the other, still with a beating heart. Sabrina Blackwell, the crocheting protector. Bigums Blackwell, the swollest of them all. Olivia Blackwell, future playwright and thespian. Izzy Blackwell, our bug commander. TJ Blackwell, the ultimate opportunist and identity thief. Delabra Blackwell, the pestilence protector and plague doctor of Battenberg. Adela Blackwell and her firemancy, innuendo, and illusions. Ethan Blackwell, risking it all for esoteric artifacts and the ire of our family. Aphrodite Venus Blackwell, the pinnacle of beauty. Wojciech Blackwell, asking for more grapes beneath his mysterious cloak. Master Armorer, Gunsmith, and Funeral Director Ashton Blackwell, writing a sonnet over his latest gun. Jackal Blackwell, don't ask what inside the sushi. Clue Blackwell, always lurking in the corner of your eye. Tabitha Blackwell, second in swollenness, first in mining for legendary ore, and forever frenemy to our last entrant, Papa Kyle Blackwell. Coated in 3 layers of bone armor and ready to defend what he deems is rightfully his. We love and fear you, Papa. We thank you all humbly for your patronage and look to see you bright and early for Dusk Light orientation, purple crayons, and existential dread will be provided. And, one last time, listeners, close your eyes and breathe with me. Remember, no matter how bad things are, how cruel people can be, and how heavy your shoulders may feel with the weight of the world bearing down on them, Dusk Light will always be here to lift the load and provide you with some respite. Drink some passion fruit J2O, watch a video essay on your favorite old school cartoon, and sleep on the cool side of the pillow with the window open and the stars twinkling down on you. Start and end each day with kindness in your heart. You matter, you are loved, and every day is another chance. I'll see you again when the sun sets and dusk enters the station.